The secret to making 100K in your first year of wholesaling. Guys, it's Rick Ginn, and today I'm going to break down the activities you need to do right now to ensure you make your first 100K in wholesaling, and then I'm going to walk you through the mindset of the things you have to incorporate in your mind to make sure you make that 100K a year in wholesaling. So let's get into it. Do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, you hit that subscribe button to continue to receive the best information on wholesaling today. So guys, 100K in wholesaling, I'm going to be honest with you, it's not nearly as hard as you think it is. The only reason you think it's hard is because that is your frame of mindset. But before we get into the mindset, I'm going to break down the mechanical things you need to do to get to that first 100K. And if you don't even have your first deal, you're going to use this video as your jump start platform so you can get up and running in wholesaling. So step number one is, this is going to sound ridiculous when I say it, is you actually have to start wholesaling. That's right. Now, you can go over to freewholesaling.com. Me and Zach give you all the tools, all the education with our 27 years combined experience of wholesaling. Not only how you can get started and get your first deal to easily get your first 100K, and that ties in perfectly with this video. But here's what most wholesalers have a problem. We spend too much time trying to learn stuff and be perfect. And as soon as I have all the information, Rick, I'll go ahead and get started. And you have to change that mentality. That's the mentality that broke you in your previous job in your schooling. And it doesn't work in the real business world. You see, you actually have to go out and take the actions. You actually have to reach out and talk to as many sellers as humanly possible for you to move forward to make your 100K. But most people want to hide behind their education, their fancy booklets. This is why you see people going to seminar after seminar, coach after coach, mentor after mentor, because they want to feel the energy of wholesaling, but they don't actually really want to do the work. And that's where most people fail. You just got to get started. And starting is not, listen, 7-10 days max reading the material. Honestly, 2 or 3 days, you should be pushing forward. That's what a really good wholesaler does. A wholesaler will take more action and understand they can learn the things as they go. This business takes time. I'm not waiting 3 years to get a paycheck. I want to get paid the first 30 days or the first 60 days or the first 90 days. I know to do that, I actually have to get started. So studying your course material on freewholesaling.com does not count as getting started in wholesaling. Anybody can read it. 100% of the people will read some of the information on wholesaling, even if you don't get it from me or Zach. But very few people will actually take the actions to start reaching out and communicating with motivated sellers so they can actually write offers and get well onto their first deal and their first 100K in wholesaling. And you've got to understand that. If you're not going to start and you're going to procrastinate and you're going to come up with excuse after excuse, when this happens, I'll do it. When the sun hits this height or when the temperature gets this hot or this cold, I'll actually start talking to sellers. No. Do it now, because if you don't do it now, you're never going to do it. And that's the secret. I always know when I'm talking to a newer wholesaler and they're excited about getting started, but they're frustrated, it's because most of them never got started. A lot of them make 10 phone calls and it freaks them out so much they never do it again. You see, you're going to have to change your old self to get to the new self in wholesaling. And I'm going to go over that at the end of this video. But step number one, you actually have to get started, and reading the materials does not count as getting started. It's how much actionable steps you take in wholesaling will define how fast and how quick you get to that first 100K. There's no exceptions to this part. The next one is you're gonna have to learn how to become a list ninja. I talk about this all the time. What do I mean? So it doesn't matter what marketing you do if you don't have the right list. So your list is nothing more than a list of prospects of possibly motivated sellers, and you need to go out and get those lists. So how do we get those lists? I'm going to break it down real short and simple here for you. Number one, I want you to go down to your local courthouse. Why? Because most people won't do this. They talk about it or they try to use a third-party service. Go down to your courthouse and I want you to pull these 3 lists. Number one, the foreclosure list, very public list, should be very straightforward and simple. The sooner you catch them, the better off you are on that. Number 2, your eviction list. These are all the landlords that are basically booting people out of their house for non-payment or staying too long. And a lot of times there can be motivation if you hit them at the right time. The third list is your probate list. You're going to have to go to the probate courts within your county It takes some time to understand. You're going to have to ask for help. It's not the easiest list to get, but those 3 lists are very powerful at your courthouse. Now, let's step it up. A list ninja. They wouldn't stop there. They go to the next set of lists. Go to your city and county level. The next list you want to get, your code violations list. To me, this is probably the most important list you can get. These are people that let things happen to their house. Either the grass overgrows, they paint it an ugly color, or they board up all the windows, or they abandon it and don't take care of the house. Guys, where there's smoke, there's fire. These lists are perfect. Talking about smoke and fire, I now want you to go over and get your fire damage properties from your county fire department or your city fire departments. Why? Because nobody else goes and gets these lists. Do what others aren't willing to do. Your third set of lists is your water shutoffs. If you have a public utilities department, when the water shut off, they wind up on a list. These lists are not easy to get. And if you get them, they are like gold. And guys, all these lists, this is what I'm talking about being a list ninja. You've got to be obsessive crazy to get the best list possible. Now, if you're struggling with your list, meaning you're not getting traction on your marketing, look at your list. If you are just calling off FSBO and Zillows, understand you're going to have to make thousands of phone calls, thousands, I say plural, thousands, to even get one deal. Why? Low motivation. There's just no motivation for these people, period. Like in the story, they want to sell a house, but it's usually a wish price. So when you're frustrated with that list, why don't you listen to it and go find where you're going to have the highest success ratio? That's what I'm talking about being a list ninja. If you're calling off FSBOs on Zillow and you know it takes thousands of calls and you've only made 100 and you're frustrated with your success, guys, let's face it, you are not a list ninja. I'm not knocking on Zillow leads. You're just going to have to go through a large volume to even get through it. And understanding your list is step 2. Step 3 is simply marketing maniac. You now actually have to take these lists and you've got to find the most efficient method that you can deal with to contact these motivated sellers. Now, cold calling is dynamite. You do have an expense of doing the skip tracing, or you can do it for free, but it's going to cost you a lot of time through truepeoplesearch.com. Figure out what works best for you. But honestly, that's the fastest way. You can do SMS text blasting. Once again, you'll have to use a platform for that, but it works well. The goal with that is converting them from the text to a phone call. And the third one is one of my favorites, is just like reverse driving for dollars. Just go out and put sticky notes on the doors and have them contact you. You have a very high contact rate. Why do I like this method? Because you get a huge response to it and very few investors will do it. This is part of the actionable steps I talked about in the beginning of this video. You actually have to go out and do these steps, and you have to do them over and over. That is the key. Which leads us to step 4, is you're going to have to learn how to become wildly consistent at doing these. You see, you can't just do this here and there and see how it works out. You have to religiously every day, X amount of cold calls, X amount of reverse driving for dollars, go out and get your driving for dollars, go find the ugly houses, collect the addresses, and set a goal on a weekly and monthly basis. And guess what? If you get behind, you have a sick day, you had a family event, or you went on vacation, you need to come back and make up for those days. There's no exceptions. That's what consistency is. Consistent always wins the races. I always talk to you guys, I'd rather have a consistent runner, like a marathon runner, than a sprinter. Sprinters run and then they take long, giant breaks. To me, that's like rookie stuff. That's why most people fail in wholesaling, because they're sprinters. They do not have the long-term capacity. How do you get the long-term capacity? You have to learn to become consistent. If you're going to make 4,000 cold calls in a month and that's your goal, break it down to a weekly total. That's 1,000 calls a week. No exceptions. Do not negotiate with yourself. You're the last person you should negotiate with. And you know what? Your own self doesn't really completely understand marketing, so you can't negotiate with yourself. You have to listen to Rick and Zach, and you've got to take the actionable steps. And when you add the consistency, there is nothing that will stop you to getting that first 100K in wholesaling. You see, wholesaling is actually easy. It's us human beings that complicate it. And the reason we complicate it, I'm getting into the head stuff now, is you've taken your old self. Remember the one that job didn't work out? Yeah, I know it was your boss, it was everybody else, or that business failed and it didn't work out. And you found wholesaling. Go, listen, I like it. It's a proven, Rick's done it for 21 years. It's gotten him where he needs to go. I've seen hundreds of other people. I know it works. So why are you questioning wholesaling when you're taking your old self and your old beliefs and applying it to wholesaling? It doesn't work. You are literally going to have to kill your old version to be successful and make your first 100K in wholesaling. And by the way, when you break 100K in wholesaling, you're going to laugh because that's just the scraping starting point. It is not unthinkable to do 100K a month. I do 100K a month all the time. And the only reason I got there is I built on the consistent success and I started getting much more regular. And then you just keep adding zeros. And that's how it works. Remember, whatever you do now in the beginning of wholesaling is going to be a predicator of what you do towards the mid and towards the end of your wholesaling. So if you take the steps now and you take the actionable steps, you're going to keep being motivated and you're going to keep pushing forward to push the volume that you do. You see, at the end of the day, it's you that actually has to do the work in wholesaling. It's not me. It's not Zach. It's you. And if you can't do the work, meaning you can't be accountable to yourself to hold yourself to those goals, and you're going to negotiate every time you get tired or you don't feel like it or you're having a bad day, you are never going to have consistent income from wholesaling. Guys, this is actually real work. I can't do the work. Zach's not going to do the work for you. We provide you all the information, but you have to step up and take the actionable steps. So many of you are just focusing on the results, but you don't want to do the work that you have to do to get there, which means you have to take the action. You got to make the phone calls, you got to make the appointments, and you got to keep pushing through. You got to keep fighting to get lists when they're giving you every roadblock in the world. Remember, if you can do what others won't do, that is well on your way to your journey to your first 100K in wholesaling. Just ask yourself, am I willing to do what others won't do? And if you are, this is a lot of fun. If you're not, and you're going to use your old mind frame, and you're going to try to apply it to wholesaling, it's going to be miserable. I'm just being brutally honest with you. Nobody's going to save you in this business other than yourself. The bottom line, guys, is the more sellers you connect with and the more sellers you converse with, it's ultimately going to determine your wholesaling success. The question is, have you consistently and methodically found a system in wholesaling to connect with as many motivated sellers as possible on a daily basis? And are you willing to do the work that's actually required for wholesaling? As I said, this business is not complicated. Most of us are complicating the business. So guys, let me know, are you on your way to make your first 100K in wholesaling? Honestly, it's easy because the ones that are going to take the most amount of action will do the most in wholesaling. That's it. The ones that just want to talk about it, educate yourselves, go in the forums and groups and go to seminars and then complain about this is hard and that's hard, those people will never make it. You do not want to be that type of person. Be the person that takes the information, takes a ton of action. And sometimes it works out wonderfully, sometimes it doesn't, but you learn either way. Every action you do in life, you are either going to get the result you desire or you're going to learn so you don't make that mistake twice. It's completely up to you. If you don't take the action, you never move forward in life. Guys, I want everybody watching this video, not only get your first deal, get to your first 100K, remember, it's all in your power. You have to decide, you have to move forward. Guys, let me know in the comments if you're going to push forward to make the 100K because you are the only person standing in your way. I believe in you. I need you to believe in yourself. That's the only difference. So let me know in the comments what you're doing to get to your first 100K. And if you got value from this video, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button. You hit that subscribe button to continue to receive the best, most authentic information on wholesaling today. Guys, this is Ginn, and I'll see you in the next video.